So let's tackle the big myth right off the bat. Just eat snow. We got water everywhere in the form of snow and ice, but that doesn't mean you should eat it. I know we're tempted to, whatever, but it's the fast track to hypothermia. Snow is mostly air, and as you consume it, it's going to rob your body's core temperature in order to melt it, and it's going to expend more energy than it's going to give you. And in this environment, heat is something that you can't afford to lose. So if you eat the snow, you're dropping your core temperature, you're burning calories to melt it internally, and you got very little water in return. So you didn't hydrate, you just sabotaged yourself. Snow has to be melted prior to consumption, period. The next mistake that most people make is assuming that all snow is created equal and that it's all clean. It's not. Here's what you're looking for. You're looking for areas of clean white snow, avoiding of animal tracks best you can. Looking for maybe snow compacted in the shade of a tree, and especially snow that hasn't been walked on, defecated or urinated on, or driven on, or blown around from the wind. You want to avoid wind-blown snow because the wind can carry toxins and other bad things that you don't want for your body. So here's what you need to avoid. Yellow snow. Of course, avoid the yellow snow. Gray snow. Wind-drifted snow. Again, the wind can carry contaminants. Snow near roads, camps, highways, and especially animal trails. And the top crust after a freeze. That crust collects everything in the environment. If you can find ice from a water source, that's even better. Clear or blue ice from a river, creek, or a lake gives you more water for less fuel. Where ice will beat snow every time. Let's talk about the proper techniques of collection. This is where people are going to burn the most energy and possibly burn the most gear. Okay. First thing is that people are going to be tempted to fill their container full of snow or the ice. But if we do that, first, what's going to happen is we're going to end up scorching our container. We're going to have uneven melting, and we're going to waste time, and we're going to be less efficient. Correct method is to first put a small amount of snow or ice in the bottom. If you have it, add a little bit of liquid water, but not a priority. Okay. Next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to melt this little bit of snow to get the process started. We don't want to place it directly on the heat. We want to place it adjacent to the heat. Now, as it melts, we're just going to slowly add more and more. Now, while that's processing, let's go ahead and discuss some other things. If you don't have a pot to boil your water in, you can obviously use a canteen cup or a metal bottle or an improvised container. If you don't have a container, then I think that becomes your priority at that point. Now let's talk about heat sources. Obviously, fire is your best option for heat if you can build a fire in these conditions. If you can make a platform such as I did with this log here, the log's not going anywhere, using the hot coals that it's producing in order to heat up the cup. That way the flames aren't destroying the integrity of your container. You need to use the coals to your advantage in this, not open flame. Make sure you have some sort of wind shelter, which I do in my reflector wall, or even if you can suspend a pot or a container over the flame. Again, just don't put it in the fire. Don't put it in the open flame. Put it adjacent to the heat, not in the heat. If you have one of those propane stoves or jet boils or whatever, those are fine, but those are going to be less efficient because those are susceptible to wind conditions, and the cold and the gases is going to make it run a lot differently than if it was in warmer climates, warmer temperatures. So if you are going to use some of those jet boils or propane stoves, make sure that you're sheltering it and keeping it warm, or else you're just burning fuel. Next would be body heat. We had to do this a lot when I was stationed up in Alaska with our canteens. We'd have to put them in our gear, sleep with them, whatever, in order to keep them warm. It's very less efficient, can be quite uncomfortable, but it's something that you can do. And at the end of the day, it's better than dehydrating. Just like in a lot of videos and a lot of other talks that I've given, if you find yourself in that bad of a position, then you've done poor planning. And let's just cut to the chase. You've done poor planning, and I don't know what to tell you. You would have needed to have planned much gooder. So here's the truth that most people don't like about snow. Snow can carry pathogens. I say usually because not always, but we don't want to bank on usually, right? We have to assume that once it's touched the ground, once it's touched the trees, once it's touched a structure, it becomes contaminated. So after we get our water in our cup, we have to purify it. Boiling is going to be the number one means of purifying our water. And you need to look on the CDC website about what it recommends for your altitude on how long you have to boil the water. I know in my area, 1 minute of a rolling boil and you're good. This is not up for debate. This is essential to your hydration, your health, so you don't get sick, you stay hydrated, and you get home safely. If you have them and if fire is not an option, you have your potable iodine tablets. These will still work. However, understand that in the cold environment, the leaching of the iodine is much slower into the water. So you have to give it a much longer time to do its job. So on the back here, it says wait 30 minutes before drinking. Maybe give it an hour. The next are those filters like your Life Straws or your Grails or your Sawyers. This is important. If those freeze, they're done. Okay. So if you're going to use those, you have to be aware of that and protect them. And it's not like they're going to shine a light or change color, letting you know that they're compromised. You'll never know. And then, of course, there's those UV pens that you can use, but the cold will zap battery life that quick. So you can't rely on batteries. So if you can make a fire, that is, and boil the water, that is the number one recommendation. And however, I've been in conditions where obviously fires aren't reasonable or capable. So iodine tablets would be the next close second best thing, in my opinion. And of course, just like any sort of water procurement, moving water is always better than stagnant water. If you can find a running stream and you can get that ice, I mean, then you're ahead of the game and you're winning. But don't be stupid about ice safety. Don't go out into the water and fall through the ice, because then we have a whole nother bucket set of problems that we have to deal with at that time. And also, when it comes to ice, never scoop the slush from the top. Remember, contaminants. Wind blows contaminants onto the ice. Always break the ice and scoop from below it. Add some more to the pot here. Relocate this a little bit. Okay. Next, let's talk about efficiency when it comes to this method of water procurement. You always want to do it in bulk, not just 1 cup at a time, not just when you need it. You want to always think about the future, right? So always have some sort of source. A common water container could be a canteen or a Nalgene bottle or any sort of other container that you bring with you. Now, a trick with these that I learned during my time in Alaska is often when we would carry these on our kit, this would be frozen, but this would be thawed out. So whenever we went out to the field during the snow or during the winter, we would turn them upside down. That way this part would freeze, but this part would stay thawed and we can still drink from it. So that's your little tip and trick when it comes to storing water in a container in sub-zero or freezing temperatures. Because nothing's more annoying when you're out and about, you're trying to get a drink from your canteen, and your canteen's frozen, and you can't drink from it. And of course, hydration rules apply. Drink before you're thirsty. Make sure that you're maintaining at least 1 quart per hour, depending on your physical activity. The best way to do that, of course, is to monitor your urine. The darker the color, the less hydrated you are. The lighter the color, the more hydrated you are. And base your water consumption accordingly based off of that little analysis. When it comes to water procurement in this situation, discipline is the key. Okay? When you get cold, you start making dumb choices, dumb decisions, trying to get warm fast, trying to consume whatever fast. Okay. Discipline is key. In my experience, growing up in Montana and living in Alaska, people in cold weather environments don't die because water is unavailable. They die because they panic. And when they panic, they make stupid decisions. And stupid decisions waste energy and rush steps and puts themselves at others at risk. So when you have an environment like this, take advantage of it and train to be able to do it before you actually need to do it. Be intentional in your training and practice when things suck. Because in survival, the wilderness doesn't care how comfortable you are. And it definitely doesn't reward shortcuts. So if this helped, put it to work. If it didn't help, well, find a better way. If you did like this and it did bring you value, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and share with your friends. And also, if you want one-on-one engagement and training on this from the comfort of your own living room, then I'm going to leave a link in the description to my Wilderness Mastery School platform, which is an online community where every week we have skill challenges. We have modules similar to this, but more extended and more in depth, using a crawl, walk, run methodology that I learned from Special Forces. So again, if you like this, I'm Patrick. This is McGeezy Outdoors, and this is water procurement in the snow. I'll catch you on the next video.